Hello everybody, it's Pete here from See Your Toes again, and this is podcast number 5. Today I'd like to talk about fasting, because it's a bit fashionable, to be honest, fasting, but at the same time it's very healthy for you, and I want to just have a chinwag about the different types of fasting, their benefits, how to do them, and hopefully you'll get some inspiration to try one or the other of the three main versions of it. So first of all, why would we want to fast? Apart from being a bit masochistic, because let's face it, it's not that comfortable once you start getting bloody hungry. There's a lot of discussion about this, and the main why is that once you've been fasted for, normally it's about, I think they say about after 17 hours, and your body has run out of fuel, your stomach is at that stage empty, then the body turns around and thinks, well, if I'm not going to get fed, then I may as well go and find my nutrients, find my nutrition from my body itself. Now, it can do that. The main thing is that if we don't fast, then we have a whole bunch of cells in our bodies that are supposedly, science has shown, that there's a whole bunch of cells that are kind of in a bit of a zombie state floating around in our bodies. They're not useful anymore. They're not doing their job as whatever cellular reason they had in the first place, but they're still alive. Hence my phrasing of them being sort of like a zombie. At that stage, they're useless. They're still eating our food. They're still doing everything like that, but they're not contributing to helping our bodies run. There's a potential and there's discussion that these sorts of cells that have sort of gone a bit wrong and they haven't died, but they're not really any use, could even have a potential to start cancerous problems and other problems like cancer. So after 17 hours, our bodies turn around and our body turns around and it thinks, okay, well, I'm going to start finding these damn cells and I'm going to basically self-destruct them and use their bits and pieces, their nuts and bolts to reuse in the other parts of my body because I'm not being fed. I've had to go and find food and I'll do that. So and this is called autophagy, and it means that the body is literally breaking down cells that are not really any use and reconverting the nutrients that come out of those cells for production of new cells. Hence, you can still be your body can still be fixing itself even though you haven't had anything to eat. And that can be really handy, of course, because after it, if you've been fasted for a wee while, or you have repeat fastings like this, then your body has an opportunity to get rid of a whole lot of these zombie cells that are floating around in your body, and it potentially makes you a lot healthier. This is what the science has shown about fasting. Now, that's really what I phrase as long-term fasting, and by long-term I mean 24 hours or more. So that brings us on to the three different types of fasting. As I've just mentioned, you've got the long-term fasting, which is your 24 hours or more. There are people that have fasted, consciously fasted for weeks with no major problems arising, because again the body it slows itself down and it makes use of itself. If you go back to when we were running around in caves, I've discussed in other podcasts how, especially in the sugar podcast, how in summertime we would eat like mad. We'd eat all those sugars on the vines and we'd get nice and fat so that we could survive winter. It was a strategy that was brought into our genetics, to the extent that the fructose, it's been proven that the fructose, which is a part of the sugar, is designed to stop us from being hungry so that we can eat more, and it hijacks our mitochondria, which are our energy manufacturing little organelles, so that we can, and it stops those organelles and the mitochondria from producing energy, and instead it swaps them out so that all they're doing is producing fat. So we get really nice and fat on sugary foods, hence the problem we've got these days, of course. So there's a caveman. He's got nice and fat over summer. then comes winter, and he's stuck in a cave. There's a metre of snow outside the cave. It's cold as a frog's bum, as my dad would have said. And there's no way to get food. It's not like he's got a storage of food out the back, because, how are they going to store food? He would have, or all of the family would have just eaten what they had. So there would have been long periods when the whole family would have eaten bugger all. I would have thought it would be quite possible in certain times that they might go for over a week, maybe 2 weeks, without eating anything at all. They'd have water from the snow if they could thaw it out. But as far as food was concerned, there's every chance that on quite a regular basis, our ancestors fasted for well over a day, often for several days. And even in the middle of summer, if they're on a hunt and there's not much food around because it keeps running away, from all the Attenborough programs, all the documentaries, some of these, like lions and things, they can go for days and weeks without eating at all, because it's all a case of just being able to finally catch that prey, drag it back and eat it. And the humans would have been the same. So there's every chance that fasting was something that they had to endure, and so our bodies were designed for it. Come 21st century, of course, when you've got a supermarket just down the road, how often do we fast because we have to? The possibility would be maybe if we didn't plan and there was a major crisis like flooding or something like that, where we couldn't get out of the house for a few days and we ran out of food. But that's not going to happen very often, let's face it. And even then, chances are somebody will be dropping food down into you. So it's very unusual for us to have to fast in this day and age. So that's why fasting as a chosen thing to do can be very beneficial for your metabolism and for your body in general. So that's fasting for 24 hours. Personally, I've done lots of 24-hour fasts. I did one that was 36 hours. I was a bit silly with that because I started in the morning of the first day, which meant that I went through the whole day. That was okay. So I had breakfast. Then I went through the whole day. Then I forego tea. What's the big word? I didn't have tea. I went through the night, which was a little bit uncomfortable. So that took me to the next morning when I didn't eat breakfast. And by that stage, I was starting to think of cardboard as a luxury food. And then I managed to get all the way to about 6 p.m. And at that stage, my brain just took over and talked me into, talk about voices, talked me into all this food that was in the fridge. And before I knew it, I was chowing down. So I made it to 36 hours. It's a lot easier if you have your standard tea. Like tonight, I've got a spatchcock chicken in the oven, and when that's finished, so I'll have that. I'll have chicken with a fairly fatty salad, no carbs, of course. And so I'll be finished that by about 7 p.m. And then I'm not going to do it, but if I did start then that would be a perfect time to start, because by the time 7 a.m. racks along, you've already done your 12 hours. So therefore, getting to 7 p.m. tomorrow night without eating anything tomorrow means you've done a 24-hour fast. And if you did manage to get through, therefore, you didn't eat anything tomorrow night and you got through to the next morning, then there's a 36 hours. And if you can make it right through to finally eating, not tomorrow night, but the next night, then that would be a 48-hour fast. And a 48-hour fast is something that I'm going to try in the next week or two, but I'm not really looking forward to it because I know how I felt after 36 hours. But it's interesting that when I did my 24-hour, all of the 24-hour fasts, when you wake up, you don't have breakfast, and by 10 o'clock your stomach's rumbling, and by 12 o'clock it's really complaining. But by about 2 o'clock you start to notice that, yes, you're still a bit hungry, and I just drink fluids, which is always water or black coffee. But by 3 or 4 o'clock, I've suddenly got a whole lot of energy that I'm almost bouncing around. It's funny. You're almost bouncing. And I've always go to the gym, and I always do weight training, just the same as usual. and I managed to do good weights, if anything, possibly better weights, and I certainly have just so much energy available, and that's because my body has switched over to burning fats at that stage. It's like full-on fats, and it's amazing how much energy your body can have when it doesn't have food. And of course, the other thing is your body has all that energy because it's not spending energy digesting your food. So that can be a big positive in itself. So that's a 24-hour fast or longer, and I would strongly recommend that you give it a go. It's not difficult. All you do is remember when you've finished your meal, don't snack, don't eat anything until next time. So literally, if you finish your meal at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. tonight, don't eat anything at all until 7 p.m. tomorrow night, and there's your 24-hour fast. It's not rocket science, as the phrase goes. All you have to remember is that you don't eat anything, you do not snack, you don't have milk in your tea or coffee, you certainly don't have sugar or anything like that. You literally have water or black coffee, black tea, anything like that doesn't have nutrient or energy levels, energy values to it. And you just survive through to the next night. Now, when you do come out of a fast like that, it's really handy to not feel sorry for yourself and go for a full-on 3-course gouge out, because as soon as you do that, you'll end up with stomach cramps. So just eat a little bit, have a nibble. You might feel like knocking back a 3-course meal, but just have a few bites, let it settle, eat slowly. Don't eat too much, don't eat too fast, because your stomach is empty, and it's really important that you let it stretch back out. And that's what I did the first time, the 24 hours. I was very proud of myself. I hoovered into food like I was a ravenous pig, and 10 minutes later my stomach cramped up and it was most bloody uncomfortable. So there you go, that's just a little suggestion. Now, the second type of fasting that most people would be most familiar with is called intermittent fasting. I do normally struggle with that word. Now, that means intermittent means in this phrase, it's not really intermittent. That's not how people normally do it. What it means is that people will finish their meal at, say, 7 p.m. and they won't eat again until 1 or 2 p.m. the following day. So generally, people are talking about a 16 to maybe 18-hour fasting window, as we could phrase it. So if you think of 18 hours, then if you finished your meal at 7, then that would mean 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1 p.m. So you'd be eating again at 1 p.m. That would be your 18-hour fast. 16-hour fast, you'd be eating at 11 a.m. But you'll find that after the first day or so of doing that, it's pretty bloody easy. 1 p.m. isn't difficult once you get used to it. It's all about your habit. And incidentally, with all of these things, quite often your stomach will complain like hell, and it'll be writhing and making all sorts of gargling noises and stuff. You just have to ignore it. And the best thing you can do with all of these fastings, including intermittent fasting, is just drink lots. Just have a big glass of water. If you've got any electrolytes that don't have sugars and stuff in them, then it wouldn't hurt to have a little bit of electrolyte with your water, just because as you pee, because you will keep peeing, you are putting some electrolytes back into your body. So that's intermittent fasting. Now, the problem I have with people who do, and I know so many people who do it, but they say, oh, I do intermittent fasting. Oh, how often do you do that? Oh, every day. Well, at that stage, it's not intermittent. It's just a habit that you're in. And the problem with any habit, anything that you repeat too often, is your body gets bloody used to it. And your body sort of thinks, oh, well, I know I'm not going to eat till 1. I'll just slow down a little bit. Chill out. I won't use too much energy because I know I have to survive through to 1 before I eat. If it does that every day, it gets used to it, and you'll find that the results are nowhere near what they used to be. I certainly try to change it around quite a bit. So quite often I'll have breakfast and lunch and tea. Other times I'll have breakfast and just tea. Other times I will skip breakfast and try to get through to, say, 1 p.m. And other times I will just not eat at all, of course, and do a 24-hour fast. And incidentally, with the 24-hour fasts, the easiest way to do it, don't plan it. Just wake up in the morning and think, okay, I'm going to make today my 24-hour fast. If you think about it after you've finished your meal tonight, I'm not going to eat till tomorrow night, you're going to spend all night thinking, oh, God, I wish I could have a snack. Oh, I wish I could do this. I wish I could do that. And you're just teasing yourself. So the best thing you can do is just wake up in the morning. It might be tomorrow morning. It might be the next morning, sometime over the next week. And say, right, this morning, I'm not going. When did I eat last? I ate last at 7 p.m. I didn't have any snacks. Try not to have snacks. That's how you keep putting weight on, is your bloody snacks, especially evening snacks. I know I'm digressing here, but it's been proven that when you eat in the morning, most of the energy that's in the food gets used for your metabolism. But when you eat at night, especially after your main meal, like your snacks, that food doesn't get used for metabolism. It gets put away for a rainy day. In other words, puts more fat on you. So eat your main meal and then try to get out of the habit of snacking. And that's all it is. All of these things are habits. Our bodies are really good at sticking to habits. So what was I saying? So if you want to do a 24-hour fast, then just wake up in the morning, think, okay, I feel like I'm going to do a 24-hour fast today. Sometimes I'll do it when I'm driving. So I think, okay, I know this. The foods at the services in the UK are pretty shit, to be honest. So I just will pull in at the services. I'll need my pee when I'm driving along. If I'm driving, say, from Yorkshire down to London, that's a 4-hour drive. I'll pull into the services. I'll have a pee. I'll grab a black coffee, and that will be it. It'll take an hour for the black coffee to get cool enough to drink. And then I carry on. And so that gets you out of the problem of what am I going to eat from the services. Come lunch, you don't eat, and then you don't have to eat. For me, it would be then if I'm staying away for the night, get to the hotel, and then once I've sat down and made myself comfortable at the hotel, I can have a feed, and that's my 24-hour fast. And it works really well. And it saves me buying rubbish food from the services. So intermittent fasting, getting back to intermittent fasting, if you're going to do that, then 18 hours is a great time. 16 hours is minimum. 18 hours is better. And that's what I'm saying there really, is because that's how long it gives your stomach a chance to empty, and it gets your body a chance to really start to think about switching over to being fully ketogenic. And then it can start working on that autophagy that we've mentioned before, where it's going off and finding some rogue cells, some zombies, and having a munch on them. So anything shorter than that, then it's just going to say, okay, I'll just hang out and hopefully my owner will get around to doing his job and feeding me. So that's intermittent fasting. Now, the third type of fasting is quite interesting, and a lot of people will scoff at this, that it's not real fasting at all. And it's called protein-sparing modified fasting. So that's a lot of words. What it means is that you fast as far as energy is concerned, but you eat very lean protein and preferably a meat source so that it's slowly digestible in your stomach, as opposed to, say, a whey isolate or I have a beef isolate these days as opposed to whey. So the concept behind this is that if you are into building weights, pushing weights, you don't want to lose too much muscle. A lot of the guys are concerned that if they do a fasting, they're going to lose muscle mass. So this way, they still eat their protein so they can lose the fat, because your body will still want to chew on the fat as its energy source, your body fat, but it'll have access to protein so it can build your muscles. At that stage, it's unlikely that you're going to go into that autophagy. See, I knew I was going to screw up with that one. The autophagy stage, because it's being fed, it doesn't have to go and look for extra food. The only purpose of protein-sparing modified fasting is that it is for weight loss. So this is when the guys, including me, I'm down to I'm currently down to about 11% body fat according to my bathroom scales, and I'd like to get down a little bit further. I can see 4-pack. I can see general definition of my muscles, but I'd like to get. I know it's all vain, but it's all a challenge. I'd like to get more definition out of my muscles. I'd like to get the 4-pack to become a 6-pack. It's only 2, but it's an important 2. And so the protein sparing modified fast means I can lose fat while not losing muscle, and that's the purpose of it. So in this respect, when they talk about proteins you can eat, what they're talking about is very lean meats. So it would be like chicken breast, no skin, or a very lean white fish. And in that instance, you're not going to be cooking it in oil or butter or anything else. You'll either cook it in water, or I've got an air fryer, so I'm going to give that a go. Drop it in the air fryer and see if I can cook it up just with some salt and pepper and some spices. It'll probably still taste a bit like cardboard, but it'll be protein-enriched cardboard, so that's the main thing. The idea of this is normally you would do a 24-hour one of these. So again, for breakfast, you'd eat the protein. You'd have quite a bit of protein if you could. So I think the normal one is about 2 grams per kilo of body weight. So I weigh in at the moment at about 72 kilograms. Yes, I'm a lightweight, but then I'm also a short ass. So that means I'd be 144 grams of protein would be kind of perfect. Now, of course, there's a big talk. Well, is that lean? When you say 72 kilograms, that's your overall weight, not your lean muscle weight. Because if 11% of me is fat, then 89% of me is other stuff. And so I'm probably only, say, I don't know, 63, 64 kilos. So that would make it 128 grams of protein. But that aside, just say, okay, somewhere between 120 and 140 grams of protein is what I need to eat. Have a look on the label for your chicken breast and see how many grams of protein is in your chicken breast. There's probably about 30 or 40%, because most of your chicken breast will be water. And so you can work out how many chicken breasts you can eat, and then you'll have that for breakfast and lunch and possibly a mid-afternoon snack and then an evening meal, and then you can get back, or I guess your evening meal could be a standard meal if that's your 24-hour fast. That way you're getting your protein and your body will be using your body fat as its energy source, so you should lose body fat in the process. And that's the way these guys can really cut down that last little bit where it's starting to get a little bit annoying to burn off the body fat. Now, I've found personally, with regard to my 24-hour fasts and the 36-hour fast, that if I did lose any muscle mass, it wasn't enough to worry about, and it certainly didn't affect the weights that I was lifting in the following few days. And so therefore I suggest that unless you are really concerned about it, or maybe you're down to sort of like the last few percent of body fat that you're trying to get rid of for a competition, then the 24-hour fast would be the best way to start with. You could try, and if you haven't done any sort of fasting before, you could try an intermittent fasting, get up to 18 hours, see how you feel. And at that stage, you could say, okay, I'm going to eat at, say, 1 p.m. or whenever it was that your 18 hours was up. Eat at that stage and say, well, that's that box ticked off. I could do that once or twice again, and then maybe tomorrow or, say, the next day you build up to 19 hours and so on. And that way you can build up. Personally, I think the best way, if you want to do a 24-hour fast, just say, right, I'm going to do a 24-hour fast. Don't tease yourself, because you get up to 18 hours and think, oh, I suppose I could make it. You'll have all sorts of voices inside your head will be saying, come on, you're hungry, come on, just eat, come on. So it's much better if you just say, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do I'm either going to do an 18-hour fast, an intermittent fast, or I'm going to do a full-on fast. Same with thinking, I might try, if you've done a 24-hour and you're thinking, I might do a 36-hour. There's no point thinking, I'll just get to my 24 hours and see how I feel, because you will talk your way out of it. At about the 22-hour mark, you'll be starting to really think about that 24 hours. So just think, well, I'm in this for the long haul, and I'm going to do it. Now, incidentally, with the guys that do the protein-sparing modified fast, one thing they do say, and I think this is for people who are really trying to lose weight, and they might take this sort of thing as gospel and think, okay, well, I can do a protein-sparing modified fast every day of the week, and I'm going to lose lots of body fat. The suggestion is you do it no more than twice a week. So you could do it on day 3 and then do it again on day 7 sort of scenario. But they all say you have to let your body recover. So eat normally, which could be ketogenic, but just eat normally with your standard calories that you'd normally be eating for that time of whatever situation you're in. So don't do it every day. Don't get stupid. Same with the other forms of fasting. Just do them every now and again. Let your body recover in between, and don't go too bloody stupid over it. Because your body does need to recover. And if you do it every now and again, whether that was once a week, once a fortnight, once a month, I think I generally try to do it about once a month. It means that when you do it, your body isn't expecting it. Your body isn't saying, yeah, here we go. I've done this before. Let's just slow down, because that's what your body does, of course. If it knows that you're not going to be eating, it just slows itself down, slows your metabolism down, looks after its food reserves. And that's the opposite from what you want. You want your body to say, well, I don't know what's going on here. We'd better go and chow down on some of my body fat, because I don't know how long this is going to last for. That's the perfect response. Okay, well, that's a start of it. I think if I do a protein-sparing modified fast in the next few days, I'll do a podcast on that. So I'll explain what I'm eating, and I'll do it sort of step by step as I go through the 24 hours, just to give you guys a feeling of what it's like. And if I make mistakes and so on, then I'll of course let you know that as well. So as far as this podcast is concerned, if you like it, if you don't mind listening to me prattling on, then can you please give a reference? What is it? How many stars you want to give me, and subscribe, because that way the podcast bots can see that sort of thing, and that's how I get ranked, so other people can hear. And also, if you give a reference, then of course it lets other people to read it and think, oh yeah, okay, I suppose I could listen to that. So have a good time, everybody, and I'll hope to be back in the next few days. So thank you very much. Okay, bye-bye.